On the June 4th broadcast of Mickelson in the Morning, conservative host Jan Mickelson was talking to representatives from the League of Women Voters. Now, they're going to talk about the very important issue of getting out there to the polls and making your voice known, of course. And, well, let's listen to the first part of this conversation.
We believe that if everybody exercises their right to vote, we will then get a better feeling of what Americans really want.
Why?
You know, if only a certain percentage of people vote, then all you do is get the opinions of that certain percentage.
Well, if people don't care enough to inform themselves, why do we want them anywhere close to a voting booth?
Sometimes people, it's not that they don't care, it's either, there are several things that cause people not to vote. One, they don't have information on the candidates, which we talked about. Two, they don't have access for many reasons. They either don't have the ability to get to the polls, they haven't had a chance to get time off from work to get to the polls.
How would your organization even address those things?
Well, we would help organizations that are working with, getting the vote out or getting voters educated as to how they can get to the polls. We don't provide rides, we don't provide that, but we provide people with information of how to get things done.
Okay, so she lays out a pretty good case on how she's able to help people get to the polls, how the League of Women Voters is doing a good thing, is helping people exercise their constitutional right, and I think their constitutional duty to get to the polls to vote for their representatives. Now, Jan Mickelson is not in favor of that.
See, I'm in the voter repression business. See, I want people not to vote unless they agree with me.
Okay. So you're in the voter suppression. Well, at least you're honest. At least you get some points for honesty. As I said, Jan Mickelson, not in favor of voting, not in favor of other people voting unless they agree with him. You've heard it, flat out. That's their plan. That's what they like. That's what they want. If you disagree with me, I don't want you exercising your constitutional right, and I'm going to block you from voting. We're going to have you purged from the rolls. You're not going to be able to take part in your constitutional right to self-governance, which, by the way, should be a very conservative idea. It's both a conservative and liberal idea that, hey, maybe you should have the ability to elect your own representatives. Self-governance is what our country is founded on. Self-governance. Now, later on, he talks about how, people who say it's a democracy, it's not actually a democracy, it's a constitutional republic. That's why we should say these people shouldn't vote. That's ridiculous. That is such a ridiculous argument. Because, first of all, you want people to vote. You vote for your representatives. You vote for your representation. And this guy I think he literally believes that people shouldn't have representation. They shouldn't be able to choose who represents them. That's mental. But no, it even gets a little bit worse.
If you want a voice maybe you don't want people to have a voice in our society, I don't know, but I feel
I'm reconsidering the idea.
That the goal as League of Women Voters is to give the people at least the opportunity to make the decision, do I want to participate or not participate, and give them not only the tools, but the information to make that decision. A lot of people choose not to simply because they don't have the information.
I think those people are lazy. Well, not everybody, but obviously, but if in our culture, if you don't have access to the information, or it's because you haven't been paying attention or not trying, you're severed from the political process at an elemental level that should exclude you from being part of the process.
And if you think it's just this one whack job, right? This one guy, Jan Mickelson, whatever. He doesn't represent the GOP. GOP is all about getting people out to the polls. Well, no. The modern conservative movement, the very father of the modern conservative movement, felt exactly the same way. In fact, let's listen to him.
Now, many of our Christians have what I call the goo-goo syndrome. Good government. They want everybody to vote. I don't want everybody to vote. Elections are not won by a majority of people. They never have been from the beginning of our country, and they are not now. As a matter of fact, our leverage in the elections, quite candidly, goes up as the voting populace goes down.
And that's it. Conservatives, modern Republicans know that if you suppress the vote, if you block people from getting from the polls that you don't like, that don't agree with you, as Jan Mickelson said, then your leverage goes up as the voting population goes down. You've heard it. Look, if you believe Republicans are all about the integrity of the vote, voter ID is not a problem. What's the problem with getting a voter ID? That's the problem. Because that's the point. Intention matters. And this is their intent. Their intent is to keep you away from the polls if you don't agree with them. To deny you of self-governance, of democracy, by putting as many hurdles as they can in the way. And then they'll be like, what's your problem? Why don't you vote? What's the problem with getting an ID? We just put, a bunch of stumbling blocks in your way. You should be able to get there. I do. It's ridiculous. It's anti-American and definitely anti-democratic. And yeah, we're a constitutional republic. Once again, we have democratic values, as in one person, one vote, which even now is also being challenged, will be brought to the Supreme Court, which could upset the way elections are held. Look, man, if you think Republicans want you to go out there and vote, if you think your vote matters to them at all, it doesn't. Because you see so many conservatives out there that are pushing anti-voter laws, voter ID, eliminating early voting, eliminating access to the polls, creating gigantic lines so that people have to sit and wait in order to exercise their constitutional right to vote. If you think Republicans aren't doing that on purpose and that they just want to have integrity, you're out of your mind. And you are deeply, deeply misinformed.